So where do we want to start today? What questions does it seem people are throwing at us as we get going?
There's some pretty good ones, including some ones that I'm really excited about. But I suppose to start at the top, Glow from our community asked, do you have a sense of what the terms and conditions, the T's and C's, will be for the NFTs? Got to start with a rhyme, right?
Yeah, so I mean, we're not TNCs aren't really a thing for us for the NFTs. So terms and conditions are generally necessary if you're doing something similar to a security, if there's privacy issues, if there's all kinds of fun stuff. The way we're building and what we're building is, I believe, and other people can disagree with me, much more in the spirit of traditional crypto. Let's say I sell you an NFT and then I say, when you bring it to my platform, I will allow you to do all of these things that I'm telling you about. Tough. Not really the way things actually work, because then ultimately it becomes a sort of secondary promise and security. We're building these things sort of natively to handle this stuff. And for us, it is not the same level of stuff. So we're going to have none. We have some level of privacy stuff on the website because we do collect cookies and all that other shit. But as far as the NFTs go, we don't have anything like that. We're being very clear about what we're working on. It's going to be stated what they do. They're going to kind of do the thing in and of themselves. We're proud of the art. And beyond that, it's not really a TNC thing. I think that's a fair way to put it. I know I've got Chris and a few others in there. Is that a fair way to put it, Chris? You can just message me and say yes. Or you could even unmute and say, although you don't want to talk.
Yes.
That's fair. Yes. There we go.
I can talk.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's the way I'd phrase it. It's the way I think Chris phrases it. And we've been doing this a long time. It's the way our head of legal and lawyer would phrase it as well. TNCs exist for good reason, but they're not necessary in this case.
I like it, making it simple.
No, it helps you not bullshit people.
From T's and C's to BS, right?
Well, I mean, how many pages is the last terms and conditions you hit accept to? You don't even know.
Like, I was going to say.
No one even knows. It's stupid crap.
That's why I left iTunes, right? Speaking of which, here's one I'm really excited about for you. It's a bit of a two-parter, but still asks, when will we be able to see and hear some playable? And what should we expect from the audio of NOR?
Oh,
kind of 2 in 1 for you.
Well, I mean, and they're two extensive questions. God damn it. All right, Stiltsy, I'll give it a shot. So first, you'll be able to see and hear soon. And when I say soon, I mean within the next month or two. We are currently actively playing and playtesting and getting things going. Our artists are actively building, and it is a full working game. Is it ready for prime time? Absolutely not. We're a bit of perfectionists, and we come from a space where if we're afforded the ability to build until we're happy with it, we're going to, and that's where we're at. It's is it Miyamoto? I can never remember. It's some, I think it's Miyamoto, great game thinker. Someone said, a good game releases well, a bad game patched later is bad forever, because it's the nature of how releases work. You only get one show, and we want to make sure it's solid. So it will be soon. We'll be showing video. We'll be showing stuff this fall. We're planning on releasing. So we have a tight turnaround. You're talking about starting to actually probably have some level of playtest inside of the next 3 months even. So it's quick. It's quick. This is not going to be a 2 or 3 year, we promise the game's coming thing. We get in wars with random YouTubers over things. We're just building games, and we're excited to show it. Now the audio, well, what you can expect from it is state-of-the-art generalized game audio. I'm excited if you want to talk less about technology and much more about the style. As with everything we're doing, we started with a core conceit of what does it mean for art, for meaning, for stories, for architecture, for people to live immortally. What does immortality mean to these people? That setup and that play is a very unique thing. And it enables us to have a visual style that I will say is exceptionally unique. With that, the audio is becoming that as well. We have the ability to do a lot of things. And with that, we're playing into a generalized hyper-electronica that utilizes the actual problems within the way electronic music is produced to foster that. The audio itself is intended to be hyper in real world. So if I'm playing the game, footfalls will feel like footfalls. They will be footfalls. It's the fun part about being a UE5 game is we can utilize spatialized audio pretty easily. It's fairly effortless. I don't mean to shit on sound guys. My little brother's a sound guy in games. Their work is exceptional, but it is getting easier than it was 10 years ago. As far as the music or the ideational direction, it is in line with taking things further than they've been done and trying to see how far we can make it weird, because I like weird. I think would be the way to put it. I hope that answers at least decently, Stiltsy.
Yeah, it's all on that Jim Morrison line, right? Where's your will to be weird?
For us, it's important. The ability for people to see the possibility space of all the things that we can do, because our one game is not one game. We're building systems. Systemic thinking in games is something that I've been a fan of, and I'm very happy to say everyone on the development team is a fan of. I consider the best game makers those who really love systems. And as we dive into them, you start seeing how things interact and play with each other and go up against each other, but you design the thing and emergent properties after that. And audio is one of those, without a doubt. And it's a super fun thing. But like my brother always says, with audio, the only time you know you've done your job right is when people don't notice that you did work at all. If you notice audio, it's the problem. So we're hoping to make that middle ground solid. We're excited. We've got some very good people, which I'm happy about.
There we go. Seamless and emergent.
There we go.
Here's one for you. Our friend Avos asks, assuming that we will not be receiving a white paper prior to the mint, when will it get released?
So we will not be releasing it prior to this mint. No, we will be releasing it prior to the land sale, which we think is more appropriate. This is intended to be part of that sort of secondary group that we then form and work with as part of the larger community. The white paper primarily is about tokenomics. I mean, it will have a lot of other things, but that's the thing people are ultimately really wanting to know. I'm joining this thing. Where are the opportunities for profitability? How do these coins work with each other? How do the NFTs play with each other? Where do I find yield farming, staking, blah, 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 all these things. The difficulty for us, and it's the reason we haven't released it, is the vast majority of people in this space who are doing a thing kind of can just copy and paste tokenomics and change a handful of things from another project, especially the things they see they like. The problem for us is generalized incentivization doesn't allow that in the same way for us. Because our game and our economy game are two separate bits that are connected through these NFTs. It means that we have to make sure that, on the one hand, what we're building incentivizes people who are playing the game to just enjoy playing the game and to be the best they can be. And it incentivizes people on the other side to basically go wild. My continuing joke is that we want the economy to be Ayn Rand meets Mad Max, but we also want to make sure that we very much keep the game and all the games secure from that. This means we have a very unique tokenomics. We will have all of the things, the results that people want in it, but we can't structure them the same way, and it's not quite as clear. We're very fortunate in beginning the process for our tokenomics fully. We have some level of it, but now that we're at the point where we've got developers, we've got our team built, we've only been going for a few months after all, we're starting to assemble the Avengers, as you might say. Delphi, 4RC, Santiago, Stani. We have, oh God, there's just so many. Our cap table is incredible. And we have some amazing people who really understand how tokenomics needs to function. Kieran from I'm trying not to leave anyone out. We have 50 people, 50 plus people. So it's easy for me to leave one or two out, and I apologize. But they're all very much in this. The reason I chose them is because this is the area I know personally I am the weakest on. This is not my world. I don't live here. I live in games. I live in ecosystems. I live in platforms. I live in technology. But tokenomics is not for me. And so as such, we have all these people. Secondarily with that, we're going to be utilizing all of you. If you're listening to this, chances are you're part of our community. If you're here live, you definitely are. We're going to be forming and building out tokenomics alongside you, because we want to make sure that there's nobody who's getting left out, as you might say. It's really common in a lot of tokenomic setups to sort of push for the investors, the early investors, to be able to really reap a pretty penny pretty fast on a lot of these projects. It's a standard. I get it. I want to make money too. But we want to make sure, because for us, it's not about that sort of first week, first month, even first year. For us, we want to really build a platform that changes all of video games. We're zealots, and we want to change all of video games. If we can actually have a self-sustaining platform and DAO that's able to have players and retail purchasers and investment groups and large scale and small scale and mom and pops or whatever, me as a rando, if all of us can get involved, the goal would then be that we all get to be successful. That's the hope. So we're doing a lot of work to sort of take a lot of lessons learned from other people and other things. And my dad's old saying, nothing's a waste. It can always be a bad example. And we're growing off that. And so we'll be reaching out to the community in the coming weeks as well to involve various people. It's part of the setup that we're doing for the minting as well. We know who owns. They're going to be wanting to be involved in deeper ways as well. Even the cheapest of the upcoming aspects. You're part of our community and we want your success too. It's the only way that we survive long term. It's the only way we change things. Because if we just make ourselves rich and leave, well, trust me, that's so fucking tempting. It's so tempting to do. I get it. But if we just make ourselves rich and leave, then it's more the same the next week from everyone else. We need to change things. This is a change. We're zealots. I will say it a million times. We're zealots and proud of it.
Yeah, and it's important to become viable, right? And, perhaps that's why we're sensitive to how Atlas can shrug. To that end, the community was also wondering, as for Fate, can you give us an idea of what that will be used for?
Everything. So the goal for our setup, and we refer to it internally as the city. We also jokingly refer to the two sides as Forsberg and the Monopoly Man. It's the two games. But the city is where all of the big excitement happens. This is where the economy happens. Not the stadiums. The stadiums are where games are played, just like in the real world. Money exists around them. There's no money in the field. It's all created, you might say, emergently around it, between it, in the cracks. The meta space, you might say, around games is what creates these economies, which then builds cities and builds people. For us, that setup is powered by Fate token. So it's everything. It's not a governance token in the way people want to think. It is a governance token, but these things are intended to work, in my mind, the way crypto was originally built. Generalized, decentralized, not currency, but capital. It operates in a different place. It plays with things, allows people to deal with each other in a unique way, allows people to invest in each other, take care of each other, and doing so without becoming a thing for the player to worry about whether or not what they're doing is going to make them rent. They can just play and have fun. But at the other side, they're able to make the purchases of land with this token. They're able to stake. They're able to do all those fun things. And Fate token is just a token, very similar to what I would consider to be the better of the play to earn games, how their token operates, not 3 or 4 or 22 tokens, but their main primary token. Again, the game is the economy. We don't need a secondary currency bullshit thing inside of the game for people to purchase things with. So the token is the economy game.
Reminds me of that Flying Lizard song, Money. It's what I want.
You and your fucking
Alrighty.
references, man.
Hey, that's a great cover, man.
I'll give you that. It is a good cover. It is a good cover.
That's the only version I like. To that end, Guru G asks, thinking ahead, what's the best way to secure a spot in the next whitelist?
Best way to secure a spot to the next whitelist. I would say hang out, be involved, just be around. We're not going to be, the next setup is going to be a little bit differently handled than this previous one. We did not have a ton of spaces left, and we're doing concentric rings. So our following one is going to be 6,000 plus after the 729. that we're going to be doing a little bit more traditional, working with some of our partners. Our friends at Fluffs, for example, are going to get a handful that they're going to be able to distribute within their community how they see fit. G-Money is going to be doing the same thing with his community. Delphi, their community. We've got a bunch of friends that we want to sort of do this with, but internally, we've got far more than we need here. And so the goal is to make sure that people who are just generally involved, not the most posting, not all that bullshit, but people who are just generally involved with the community, post, ask questions, feel free to be fairly rude to me and demand responses. I'll do what I can. That helps. These are the people we want to engage, and these are the people we want to have these passes. Because again, these aren't just NFTs that we're hoping you buy and then sell, and we want whatever bots to hold them and sit inside of their wallet. The goal is that these are used. You're the ones who are going to be the ones who shape the economy of NOR during not just our tokenomics phase, but also during our governance, during how we set things up once the DAO is live, during how tickets get spent, during how defenders get picked, all of the different things we haven't even gotten into, from how streaming services are handled, is all done through this tokenomics. This token, this NFT is the thing that is helping design this. We need people who give a shit. That's all I care about. That's why we don't do the, bot the shit out of the server and we'll give you an NFT. Instead, it's no, we actually want you to do a thing. It's kind of super important.
For sure, because this is a convivial mentality, like we said. Alrighty. So this is also from Avos on behalf of the community. They ask, are you guys already speaking, switching gears here to the game for a minute. Are you guys already speaking with potential third-party game developers to onboard?
Yeah. And I've had, so my first conversation I had, this isn't necessarily game developer, but I'm going to story tell for a second. When I first had this idea, a handful of friends, I happened to set up a really shitty Minecraft server. I made a shitty prototype and it was fun and it was kind of cool. And I was like, okay. And so I just started designing. I spent like a month building out the idea, designing out the platform, how things would work. And I took it to a guy named Ralph Reichart, who's happens to be the CEO and founder of the ESL, Esports League. Pretty big name when it comes to esports stuff. And I was kind of using him as a gut reaction of, hey, am I an idiot? His first reaction was, I'm in, how much money do you need? And I went, oh, crap. And from there, it was this weird thing of like, I can't believe the people I'm having conversations with. I presumed it would be a battle to get to the money we needed. The opposite. In fact, actually, we had to say no to a lot of people. We had to cut some people down, a lot of people down, in order to fit more people on the cap table. It was wild. Out the other side of it, when I started having, 5 months ago, when I really started having conversations with third-party developers, friends, people I knew, major developers of AAA games, I didn't think that they would be leaping into it as much. I hoped. I mean, like, of course, everyone hopes. Instead, what I found is even weeks ago, a game that I've got over 200 hours in, I'm talking to someone who's leadership and they're like, oh, this is amazing. Actually, can we talk about how we could do this? And it's a weird moment to be able to go, okay, because this is my thesis and I consider it more proof of it. People don't understand why everyone hates play to earn games as a thing, why the games industry does. And they do fucking hate it. Aside from the YouTube videos and Gymquisition and Line Goes Up and whatever documentaries you may point at, the reason developers hate it is because it changes why they make games. A very, very, very brilliant game developer I was talking to just last week put it very well. He went into mobile games because he was really excited at making fun, casual games for people. But what he learned is that a mobile games company isn't a games company. It's an analytics company. You make games as a result of the analytics you get. This is a thing that's really hard to understand for people who don't make games, but it's absolutely accurate. Once you start dipping a toe into things that are monetizable at that minute level, it is no longer about, hey, let's make the most fun thing that I love, which is really great. It is now, hey, how can I get an extra 3 cents off of the average user? That's the question, because that's how you make your money. You'll have an average revenue per user, daily, monthly. You need to hit those numbers. You A/B test. Now you're not making games. You're choosing, is this color better? Is this sound effect attract more people? Play to earn is the same thing. Once you start building it, you may start from a position of nicety. There's some people who are trying to make very, very real games in it, but they're primarily coming from the place of making tokenomics and token setups with a game layer in there. And it's an abstracted layer of the financialization. What we offer is both. And it's a really weird thing that I'm really kind of excited about, as you can tell. But when we talk to game developers, their first reaction is, I'm not talking to you about crypto. And then about a half hour in, their reaction is, so wait, I could do blank, blank, blank? Yeah, no, you can just make a game that you think is really, really fun that has a high skill ceiling, which is, that's what games are. And everyone just goes, holy shit. The platform will start with us, because we need to build probably a couple games, but we definitely need to build at least one so we can know how to build the plugin for Unreal, for Unity, for whatever the else, probably Godot, I would assume at some point. But for sure Unreal, we're building it in Unreal. And as we get that plugin done, and as our login system is around, and as our wallet system is up, and our NFT checks, and all of those things, and suddenly people can build a game without having to even think about tokenomics, without having to worry about, am I making cool enough items that people will do the same repetitive action 700 times today so that way they can pay their rent? Instead, you can go, hey, this is fun, which I think is good. And I think things should be fun. So it turns out other developers do too. A lot of them. Some names I couldn't believe that I was talking to. So I'm jazzed. I can't say any yet, trust me. I'd love to scream from the rooftops, but that is what we're aiming at for sure. I'd love to scream from the rooftops. I did actually multiple times in private meetings with the company, kind of lost my shit over it.
Yeah, those were fun meetings. It's fun to have fun, but you have to know how.
Well, it is. And again, we're supported by a lot of those people who, someone like Kieran, it's a great example. I'm an auto chess fan. A Dota auto chess was a thing for me. And so the idea of, cool, I'm a crypto guy because that's where he comes from. And he's like, I'm going to make a game that goes into this and fits into my understanding. And he's got a great one of the economics of it. That's great. That's wonderful. It's a crypto company that has a game. We're building a game platform that also utilizes crypto. And ideally for us, as Chris likes to say, and I'm just going to, because I have to quote him because he says it all the time, for us, we're using crypto. The goal in 2 years is not that people call us a crypto gaming platform, but instead just a gaming platform. That's it. The same way that underneath all of it, no one says, hey, I'm going to be building Apache websites. Say, no one cares. Hey, a new video game's coming out. Oh, is it Unity? There's a question no one's asked. No one cares. Like, no one cares what it, like, they care about the experience. They care about the thing at the end. And that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, for sure, man. To that end, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
To that end, transition a little bit more into game and economy.
Excellent.
I think this is Chinny, otherwise it's Chiny. Either way, they want to know what you think about the tokenomics surrounding AXS and SLP, since that's kind of more of a crypto game.
I actually,
what are your thoughts there?
I mean, let me start by saying, get your money, don't care. That's fine. I appreciate a hustle as much as anyone else, maybe more so. I'm not a anti-capital, anti-money person. We all have to survive. Do your thing. There's a tokenomics inside of AXS and SLP, though, that utilizes gameplay that I have multiple times referred to as coconut trees. And I talk about the way the coconut industry works. And I hope the allegory isn't lost when I describe it. It usually isn't. The challenge becomes that underneath all of it, they've designed a game that has its own sink at some level where you You spend your SLP in order to get more axes, which you sell. And this consistently expanding space requires lots more people to be playing, which requires more investors, which requires more money. And all of the things happening behind the scenes have yielded what I consider to be the bad direction. And it's a direction that's made people a lot of money. Some of them, I would say the minority of people, get your money. It's not a moral or ethical judgment. I get it. But on the other side, we have people in the Philippines, for example, who are now once again working and playing a axie below poverty lines. That is not cool. That is not the intention. No one built this to do this. These are the unintended consequences of not thinking through how economies properly work inside of it and why people ultimately really play games. Because the underlying promise of Axie and all these other games, including Sandbox, including, I mean, name a thing ultimately, is that there is this horde of gamers behind the gate that are waiting to play and dive in. And so as long as we can really get these things going and get them started, all of these items are waiting for someone who really loves games to come in and play. And those people don't exist. There's no such thing as those people. They are people who want to work. They're people who want jobs. And that underlying tokenomics, I think, is scary. Conversely, if you strip out the Axie part of AXS and SLP and the work that they've done on Rogan and the way that staking and all of their other bits work, it's spectacular. Their investment side, the space that works with large amounts of these things that really rewards people who've been there for a while and rewards people who've spent and put a lot of capital in, absolutely reward those. They're excellently designed for that. But at the bottom, all of it is predicated on people playing and spending money or time inside of what is a pretty mediocre web-based Pokemon style ripoff. And people don't like it. It's not a fun game. I don't think I'm being crazy when I say that it's not fun. That, I think, is the issue. And it's one of the reasons our tokenomics can't just take from someone else. I'd love to steal Kieran's work on Illuvium, a lot of the stuff they've done. I'd love to steal, we have Zeus from Olympus DAO. I'd love to just take his shit, and we may take some of their stuff, pieces. There's a lot of working pieces from us, including Axie. Axie's inspirational behind this entire project. I'd be silly if I said otherwise. The work that they've done and everything set a lot of this stuff there. But it is what it is. It isn't a game. It's a interactive experience that is utilized as busy work labor to justify other people spending money. It's a hyper abstracted version of how labor works in the real world. The reason I use coconuts as an example, just to go back to that, the coconut industry as a whole, I consider to be identical to the process that Axie has gone through. People inside of the Philippines had farms. And on these farms, they had a lot of shit, but they had coconut trees. And we white people really fucking loved coconuts, it turns out. And if you showed up and were like, hey, I love coconuts, I'll buy some from you. And the farmers were like, oh my God, this is great. Let me charge a couple extra bucks because they're like exotic inside of the United States. Oh, no problem at all. They're boring in Philippines. They're in fucking all the food. I get to buy them at Whole Foods though, Mr. White, Mr. American. So I go, I buy mine, that's great. Well, someone on the other side goes, holy shit, there's money to be made here. That guy has a farm that is producing. It is producing excess profit. Why don't I buy that? I will buy that farm from him, and then I'll rent it back to him. He can stay. This is literally what happened to coconut farms. He can stay, and I will turn his entire farm into coconut farms. That will remove all the other crops. We'll make it monocultural, which is kind of a problem if you know anything about agriculture, but we'll let all the coconuts grow, and I will let him live there. And then he doesn't have to worry about, you know, buying shit, dealing with outside vendors, all that stuff. I'll handle that. And coconut farmers went nuts for this because they didn't think it was possible they'd be able to make really solid currency selling their farms. And it's a chunk of change up front. It's very good for them at first. At some point, the persons or people who own all of these coconut farms that produce coconuts, and the coconuts are ultimately what's sold, go, hey, you know, actually, I need to make a little bit more money. I'm going to lower the prices of the coconuts on the other side, which means I'm paying you less. Well, I don't think that's fair. Well, it doesn't matter. I own the farm. What are you going to do? You're going to not do it anymore and not make money and go get a job doing something else? All right, fine. I guess I'll take this slightly less pay. And this happens over and over until coconuts are so prevalent at my local Safeway or Trader Joe's or a dollar store. I've seen coconuts at the adult, they're everywhere and they're incredibly cheap. And suddenly the economy around coconuts isn't interesting to anyone. It's just another commodity that's sort of produced. Lo and behold, the farmers are destitute and poor, barely scraping by, because where they once could produce actually good money when they owned the thing that they were doing, let's say when they owned their Axie, they were able to actually keep all that capital themselves. Now it's whatever the scholarship allows them to keep. And it's not much, and it's getting less and less every day, because at some point, people are just pressures of markets. This is not Marx capitalism, this is Adam Smith capitalism. This is like normal. Pressures go down. The thing that's scary with coconuts is, if you didn't know, coconut trees only fruit for 25 years. And we've got about 2 to 3 years left. And because it's not profitable to just stop production and rewrite the whole thing and say, fuck it, we're going to fix all this, plant new trees and start over. They're not going to take a year or two to do that because they need continuing profits. They just allow it to wait. They change the industry slightly. They make slight adjustments to the economy of it. And there is every reality that inside of 5 years, my son won't know what it's like to eat a coconut. My daughter may never have a coconut, like the way that I've been fortunate to have them. This is not an allegory. This is how economies work. This is not some weird shit I'm making up. This is boring to economists, what I'm describing. And this is a lot of the play to earn sort of world. People own their own items, they play them, someone else comes in, buys them, rents them back. That person then ultimately gets less and less money every day as price pressures continually push down as new things enter the market, which is the nature of NFTs. And lo and behold, out the other side, no one wins except for kind of the person who didn't really do anything except sit on it and rent it. It's a challenge, a big challenge. And for us, it doesn't work, because for us, there's no items. The players are them. The sports industry as a whole works because of how we're doing it. A player plays. They are a dynamic, living, breathing human being. How they do, what they do, how they behave is what drives their value. It is what drives contracts around them. It's what drives their success. It's what drives their tournament winnings. It's what drives their interest in being a sponsor. It's all of these things that are part of that entire economy. They don't have a singular item that suddenly they as a bodied person are then rented and to themselves. They own themselves. We're literally using the labor direct rather than abstracting it. And so as such, our economy can be built very cleanly. We don't hit any of these weird sort of, we'll probably hit something else because no one's done this before. It's going to be really interesting to see, but we're not going to hit the same thing of, oh, we only have so many players. Free games that are good, designed by people who've made extraordinary titles. Like, we're going to have fun shit and we're going to have lots of third-party shit for free. Have fun. We're not going to run out. We're not going to price pressure people down. Free is as low as it goes. So where does the rest of it happen? Well, it happens in the economy. The way that the stock market is fairly disconnected from our everyday lives, so too is the capital inside of all of these things that you guys are doing inside of crypto. It is a place where people get to play and invest and have weird ramifications and growths, the same way that Tesla is able to be $180 billion, whatever, insane valuation company, but is like the 10th most profitable. This is weird, but instead of bitching about Tesla, look at how it works and understand, actually, this is interesting. Can we use this, and can we reap those excess profits in order to fund other things that are able to go back and forth, so all people may partake in the massive growth that is the beauty of underlying capital? Sorry for the random ramble. That's a lot right there. God damn, I need to not read so much theory before I come onto these fucking calls.
I mean, I think I get what you're saying, though. Folks have milked the coconut farmers dry.
They have, and it's not just them. And no one knows this because people just do this. This is the next step. You buy the coconut farm. Well, you do this. You conglomerate the coconut farm or the pineapple farm, as the people of Hawaii learned. The island of Lanai. Feel free to look up what happened to pineapples. Same thing.
Just getting doled out.
Yeah, we've done it before.
To that end, though, to push this into the next question, tenaciously, as our next community member asked, tenaciously the studio. I think that's how you say that. They ask, when you say tokenomics will be shaped by the users, do you mean in-game marketplace or the NOR so-called crypto token infrastructure as a whole? Will the DAO be involved?
So the answer is yes to both. We will only ever have what we're calling the aspects here, the aspects of immortality. We will only ever have, I think it's around 160,000 ever, unless the DAO decides to make more. This is what we're limiting it at. This is the setup. It's going to be done. DAO can do what it does. I don't have control. I'm hoping it doesn't for a while, but I mean, if it does, that's a big success. Those people are the ones who are going to be able to deal with things internally inside of the space. They're going to be able to actually affect the economy. We can't prevent people from selling NFTs anywhere. Go to OpenSea, buy and sell shit, whatever, you do your thing. But being able to use it, being able to have the proper utility, being able to take part in that and actually be able to affect the large scale economy. I mean, both from a marketplace, generalized, emergent perspective of oh, you get to be part of the invisible hand? Sure. But in the other way of you get to vote, you get to do things, you get to change how land functions and build on things in order to manipulate how the overall economy works. The same way that if I were to go outside of any sports stadium and knock down a crack house and build a bar, I'm actually changing how people think of that sports stadium. It's abstract what I'm talking about here, but it's fucking totally real. As someone who grew up with Zephyr's Stadium in Colorado and ended up with Coors Field, it's very true how people view these things and the meaning of them, but also how sort of profitability works inside of all those things. People building buildings, doing things, layering on top of stuff is where we start getting to you actually do stuff and you actually change how it all works. The DAO as a whole is implicated and changed by these things consistently as well. All of these things are why we're selling these tickets early. It's why we have them. It's why we're limiting them. It's not going to be governance is done by the person who puts in 30% of all the money that's in the economy. And lo and behold, they control what happens. I wonder if they'll do things in their own interest. It's much more of a sortition-based economy and governance that utilizes all the people across the space. And that would include anyone who owns one of these, not the mortals that come after. People who play the game, different way of governance. It's different. This is our inner circle. We consider it. Even though there's a large number, it's significant.
And to that end, the Firemind asks, will players outside of the inner circles be completely excluded from the fiscal aspects of the game? What does that relationship look like?
They will not be totally excluded. Aside from the fact that obviously we can't stop anyone from going to any NFT marketplace or trading or doing whatever. What I can say is that there will not be a direct line inside of any of our games. And again, we're not building, I will say this every time because it's important. We are not building what people call a metaverse now, Second Life thing. We're not doing that. There is no alleyways you walk down to go from the stadium to your apartment and then you meet a friend at the bar. Not really our setup. Every single one of our experiences is a discrete executable software package that you will get in various places. If it is a thing that's appropriate to mobile, it'll be on iOS. Fun part about crypto not being baked in the same way is pretty good for us on that front. The other sort of direction of that is as people sort of do these different sort of experiences, we get to choose what they're capable of inside of them. Inside of the games, and let's say games as in the Peter Forsberg, as we say internally, the first-person shooters, discrete singular package, let's say whatever it may be. First-person game you download on Steam, it's NOR shooter. Great. Inside of that, there's no economy. You literally sign in via your token that you've got, and we know who it is, and our backend / all of the disparate pieces of our tokenage sort of work and do their thing. But inside of the game, we don't have a marketplace. There's no need. You don't buy and sell items. You're not trading things. You're not collecting stuff. You're just playing and getting really fucking good. The same way when you go to a baseball stadium, like to play, or down the field to play with your son soccer, you're not like also at the bank, which is what a lot of these things do. This doesn't mean that you can't have an effect. It just means you can't have a major one, and you can't have one inside of those experiences. When you decide to take part in this larger economy, we have a hard wall. There's a reason that we have and will only ever have the 160,000 unless the DAO changes it. That's my caveat for everything. The DAO is going to do what it does. I don't have control. The underlying sort of reality, though, is that group is it. Now, outside of that, there's going to be ways that a lot of people can interact with it, and we're going to make sure there's inboarding and onboarding and ways people can earn their way and have their outer circle NFT transmuted into an inner circle, how they can gain citizenship. We will have a lot of fun ways like that and ways that people can work together to sort of deal with that. An easy example would be if someone is building a team, for example, who's inside the inner circle, they don't choose other people inside of it. The goal would be that they choose people outside. And once you're brought inside the inner circle, things switch. NFT contracts change, and these elements allow us to do a lot more. I hope that makes sense. It's a complex thing to sort of talk through because, again, no one's doing it quite like how we're talking about it.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, when it comes to Second Life, my mentality has always been I'm trying to get a life in the first place anyway, so I definitely appreciate that. All right, still Big Kev asked you, on behalf of Sunny Girl, our resident question asker, it appears that the roadmap has been slightly updated. Can you give us a clearer ballpark date or exact dates for the mints of the 9, the 81, and the 729, and any subsequent mintings they may want to be apprised of?
Yes, and I can do this. I knew Sunny was going to either get someone to ask, so good job, Kev. She'll give you a sticker later, I'm sure. Or she would be, I may be waking up in the middle of the night to ask herself. So it is going to be the mintings that matter. So we've got the 9 coming up. The 9 being minted is our story reveals. Those NFTs are not being sold, minted, or given to people. They are being minted into wallets that flat will hold them and are intended for story manipulation. They are not sellable things. The 81, which are whitelisted much earlier, they will be minted the 31st of next month. So we are just over 4 weeks away. It's the 31st of May. We had some learnings with the whitelist, and we had some learnings with 2 other NFT mintings that were utilizing the same code base as us that made us step back for a second and rewrite and rebuild some stuff. So the minting of the 81 will be the 31st of May. I promised you'd have enough time, and I wasn't fucking around. We don't want people to panic with gas. You're not going to have a 12-minute thing to deal with, the whitelist or it goes wild. It's intended to be a slower process. It's intended to get, again, and reward the people who are part of it. And we're excited to get to that point. Following that in time, and we expect it to follow pretty quick, will be the 721, the 729, which is the whitelist we did earlier, which again, we learned some lessons from. And as these are going, our whitelist for the following circle, which is 6,000, I need to get these numbers memorized. I'm just awful. They will follow that. We expect the process for that to then be followed by the next stage, which we will talk about, which is the final bits of these NFTs. The final bits for now. All in all, we're going to be minting quite a few over the course of basically all of June and July, and they're going to be constantly going, and it's a thing to be watching for, but we're going to be very ahead of time on all of it, and you'll be very aware of when things are happening and how, and none of it's going to be a rush or a panic. Again, these are things I hate about the mints that I've joined, and I'm just not a super big fan of that. Hope that answers the overall question.
No, I think you're doing an excellent job on that one, giving us a lot of light. Here's another one for you. Danny88, not to be confused with Danny89, asks, you mentioned that the immortals who hold these NFTs will get tickets that will grant a player access to the arena. What certain types of NFTs within its mint class offer different types of tickets?
So let's talk slightly differently about it. It's not so much that they get these NFTs. It's a phrasing that I think is a little off, and I apologize if that's how I phrased it. I try to be a little bit more exacting with that. Each of our circles, concentric circles, come from the center, the one, the all-knowing. It's important to our story lore, but it's important to how we function. Every NFT that comes will basically be going through effectively the same process we're going through with the whitelisting, but through each of these circles, passing through with small amounts of time for each one to take part if they choose, each circle. The tickets, let's talk about tournament tickets, which is what you're referencing. It's what I was talking about before. If we end up having a tournament, let's say a first-person shooter tournament with 1,000 tickets, it's a nice round number, probably won't actually happen. These tickets will be put up for minting, for purchase inside of our economy. They will not be for sale externally immediately. People inside of our economy are free to do as they wish with them once they have them. The first people who will have a chance to mint one each, not mass of them, very limited, will be people who own each one of these things and who play with these elements. That thing then passes to the next ring, the next. Each one of these gets to purchase it. These tickets are access to the final round. They are required to be held by someone who can take part in these tournaments, and they get staked alongside with the person's aspect when they choose to go inside of it. This process as a thing are the tickets that will grant access to the arena very specifically here, championship arena, tournaments. This is not an everyday thing. People don't die when they just play the game for the first time. This isn't possible. There's a lot of steps. We have a fairly complex system, actually, on our side at least. Different classes, different rings are not going to have necessarily different NFTs in this case. There are lots of things design-wise that we are looking at playing with after we get this going for our own internal games. Each ticket will be for a game. They're dedicated to it. They are basically part of the developer profit center. Our platform is a DAO. DAOs are nonprofits. They don't care about keeping their money. They distribute it back out. This is the way DAOs work as a thing. For us, we are utilizing this to enable developers. Say we come in with a game, our first game, for example, and we have a tournament. We have 1,000 tickets. Those tickets are NFTs that go towards the developer. Well, the money doesn't immediately. The money goes into a giant prize pot, which can go to players, and that players and immortals who are sponsoring them. This giant prize pot is where people make a great deal of their capital, and they make that money back, aside from a lot of other fun things we're doing in our tokenomics on the purely economic side. This is where the tickets sort of enter play. Each developer has them. It's not necessarily a thing by class. People who buy them who are part of the 81 or happen to be a little bit further down the line, maybe part of the 150,000 at the furthest of the inner circle, same tickets. Same setup. They just go last when it comes to buying them. So there may not be any left. Yes, you can collectively buy them. Yes, there's ways to do lots of little fun, stupid shit. Yes, there's ways to partner with them. All kinds of fun stuff so people don't get completely fucked. But the intention is to have a semblance of a caste system that marries with the other axis of the developer as being a profit center. Hope that explains and sets up an answer to the question acceptably. What do you think? Does that get it, Rick, do you think?
Well, I think so, man. I'm a big fan of prize pots because that's where all the sous vide happens.
Oh, it's
And
terrible.
I like my
You're
steak.
honest to God, you're never gonna ever be allowed to fucking do this again. Just the jokes are too much for me. At least you haven't mentioned Star Wars yet. No, it's the prize pot thing is, I think, where it becomes interesting because again, the ability for people to have great deals of success and to share in that as players across the board. Because at the top, the platform doesn't care about its money. We don't either. It's not a big deal to anyone involved what size of that prize pot is, except in that we can win it. It's actually just a collective amount of capital that's sitting dead, waiting for us to grab. It doesn't grow unless we put more in it. And once it's in it, it's dead again. And that very crisp sort of version of it enables us to have play in a very unique way across all of it that's incentivized in a singular direction for both sides of both circles rather than, clashing at each other as it currently exists.
But I appreciate that. I'll avoid the jokes on that then and get to a serious question from a name I don't think I can pronounce, but I will try. It looks like it's Mui Mui. And they ask, in tokenomics, Is it planned to stay on the Ethereum network in the future?
No. I
Well, that was easy.
I'd love to be able to say where we're landing. I cannot yet until we have some T's to cross. I'm very excited about the thing we'll be able to hopefully announce in a handful of weeks. But we will not be staying on Ethereum at this point. I don't see a reason for us to do that, stay on an L2. We have too many issues when it comes to not just security, which is a kind of a big deal, but also the general usability, gas prices, how all of these things work. It's necessary for us to find an alternative that's able to offer us significant DeFi economics and transaction speeds on top of a focus on user experience. Because again, that's all we really care about. Will we make sure that we have a very nice bridge to Ethereum? It's a requirement because we're going to be utilizing it for things now and possibly in the future, but we are aiming in a very different place. We're not making our own. I don't like reinventing wheels. We didn't make our own game engine. It's not how it's going to work. We're not going to make our own setup. We have a very cool possibility that is more than a possibility, but I can't quite say anything or my lawyer would kill me. I know you're listening, Jay. I know you're listening.
Well, now it's ominous silence, man. You can't talk to lawyers like that.
Yeah. No, we want to talk about it. We're not there yet. It's really cool though. And I'm very happy about kind of where we've netted out. A year ago, we were in a different place. I was planning on being on an L2. I was planning on doing a lot of it. But as we started seeing, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, it is not good the way that a lot of things are set up. My joke is I bought a horse on Zed Run, and I did it to show everyone on my team. I was like, here's how purchases work. This was a while ago. And it took 6 hours. And I kind of know what I'm doing, but it just took forever. And that kind of setup is not tenable for what we're doing. We need to make sure not only on the economy side that everyone gets quick, fast, actual transactions, which is really important, but that they be very secure. They be part of a larger liquidity, has to be necessary. All these things that are good in Ethereum, but some things start falling apart, such as how do we get what really matters, which is the gamers. This is the last thing and the reason we're pushing towards what we're doing. Crypto people may love games. The idea and the usability of crypto as it exists will never pull gamers in. The bar is too high. It is simply too high from a holy shit, this is a nightmare experience. If you disagree, feel free to talk to a friend and ask them to go buy 1 Ethereum. That's it. 1 Ethereum. Good luck. Good luck. We need more than that. We need people to actually do things, and we need people to be able to do it fast. And it's exciting to be able to do that and find partners who are spiritually where we're at with things.
Definitely very exciting. So I think what we'll do is we'll do one more question.
Let's do 2 more. Let's do 2 more.
And one more question about the game. See, we're in sync.
There we go.
That's how I got the 1.1. I'm
Excellent.
always in your head, like the lawyers. The Or, an easy name. The Or asks, are the 81 already filled? If not, what are the requirements for a potential partnered project to become a supporter and join the 81? So I know you have something for us about
the 81. The 81 are filled. The intention there is, and it's very specific, we're whitelisting people who, and it's not only those who were sort of early with us, they're not getting gifts of NFTs, but we're whitelisting the people who were there from the beginning and helped us design a great deal. This helped me figure out a lot of the things that I needed to learn in order to get here. So there's a smattering of those, as well as the team. I'm taking one of them, just letting you know. The team's taking them. Not all of them, but a handful. And then we're moving to the 729. The best bet, if you want actual impact and you want to be a partner, I was talking with a handful of people who do, and companies who do the more yield farming or guilds in the NFT space. This as a thing is, I think, very attractive to me. That's where we start talking about the 6,000, because what you want is not 1 or 2 of these. Because if you have 1 or 2, you can only buy 1 or 2. It's intended to be one person doing one thing, but we're not doing anything that is going to be limited ultimately to only 81 things. or only 700 things. There's going to be many, many NFTs, many opportunities, many contracts, many games, many rounds, all of these things to do. The push would be towards that 6,000 where you can buy 10 or 20 for a far cheaper price, utilize them across multiple people, and actually essentially like how the stock market works. You don't want to be a one-man operation, even if you were the first person in line. No one's that. That's not how it works. You don't want that. You want to be a little bit further down the line and have a lot of licenses. You want to be able to have a bigger impact. You want to have the same access as everyone else, but just be a little further. And the ability to be the best of the 6,000 means you're in the top 1,000. So it's a significant opportunity economically. I think it extends beyond that as we start getting into how we can do partial ownership, and we can do shared ownership and delegation. The larger numbers, I think, become a good opportunity for lower risk, probably lower yield, but also bigger opportunity to really have an impact in the entire space collectively.
Well, I appreciate that. As you know, I'm someone who's always picked last in sports, so I appreciate that mentality. And our final question, I think, picks up some of that, because they ask regarding the game, and this is Jay Dunan. Hopefully I said that nearly correctly. Jay Dunan asks, if you would like to start honing your skills for the arena, what games would you, Brooks Brown, recommend playing?
Well, I would just say we're going to have a lot. Like this is the way we're designing and the way we're developing. And Mark, who's leading our games charge with Fred, who's we jokingly call him the art director. He's really kind of leading games look and feel, but across a lot of things. But Mark is leading the games charge proper. We're not really talking about games in the way that traditionally people think of them, where it's this large scale thing and all that. We're talking about gamelets. This is actually what we call them, where we focus on a thing. Running, for example, parkour as an idea. How do we refine that to a perfect refined edge so it's fun? We have that gamelet. Then we work on melee as a thing, and we refine that until it's fun. And then we do a third one, let's say shooting, gunplay. Those each are individually their own gamelet. We rearrange them, combine them how we want, and we end up with 4 or 5 different games. And inside of each one, we can tweak a lot of different stuff that changes how they play, how they work, how movement operates, all of that. If I were to want to start practicing and become very good at these things, I would simply play a lot of aim lab or comparative things. The generalized mechanic ability for you to be able to react to the world, shoot, move your mouse and do things, or controllers, not knocking controllers, I would encourage that. The mechanics of it are the things to practice. Multiple games utilize them very well. Into the Pit is an excellent example. I've been playing dozens. I play too many freaking games. But like, I don't think there's any specific one where it's like, oh, this is the game we're aping most. We're going to have a wide enough swath. And at some point, we're probably going to have solitaire. I mean, go play a lot of shooters. And when we get going and we have our alpha test, we have our beta test, and it goes out to people to play, and we start getting that feedback, ideally you're one of them, we can be making adjustments as necessary. That'd be my sort of idea. That's what I'm doing. I'm playing a ton recently. If I had to say like any specifics, I'd be like Turbo Overkill is a blast, but Warstride Challenges is like probably my current addiction. Warstride Challenges, super good. Super good.
Something told me you'd have a lot of recommendations on that question.
I have a few. I mean, AimLamb's the way to do it. Again, there's a lot of apps out there, a surprisingly large number, that are just about learning how to be good at shooting and clicking and killing things. Because all it is moving your mouse on a dot and clicking it at the right time. And I recommend those pretty much always.
Well, there you go, folks. So I think this is probably where we wrap up our time.
I want to do one more. Give me one. Give me a weird one. Give me a weird one.
Okay.
Give me one that's not related to anything we've had so far, because I kind of feel like I'm starting to repeat myself and I feel bad.
I've got you here. Are you happy with your current long-term, long-distance service provider?
No one asked that. You asked that. And ask me something from the queue.
Okay. Rescue Suicide Bomber asks, I still want to know what's your fave beer?
Oh, beatification from Russian River. That's it. It's not even a, if you noticed, no hesitation. No hesitation, no regrets. Beatification from Russian River is hands down the best beer I've ever had in my life. And I have 4 bottles of it right now. And they are reserved for this project at this point. One was when we actually signed our funding. I had 5. No, I have 4. When we actually get our NFTs out the door and we don't have massive fuck ups, and that's going to be another one. When we have actually the moment where we actually do our TGE and everything goes live, will be another. And then when the platform is fully set up and people are able to play, have tickets and tournaments is the other. It's those are my moments. And then I'll probably never have another beatification again because I doubt I'll be able to have it. Oh, it's so hard to find. It's a very good beer. It's just very hard to find.
I wish I could comment, but I don't drink beer.
It's a spontaneously fermented sour that's actually not sour, that's re-aged based on whatever's happening inside of Russian River, who produces a great deal of various beers, most famously Pliny the Elder and Younger. Pliny the Younger being Jay, who works with us. It's his, I believe it's his favorite beer. Russian River's got a lot of my favorite beers. They've got a lot of great ones. It's a good one. So that's the beer chat. That's how we're ending the thing, is with beer. God, that's a good thing to end things with.
The way to do it. Alrighty, folks, you heard it here first. The NOR AMA, Brooks Brown, April 28th. Looks like we're all set.
We're getting there. And over the next month, I look forward to you seeing all of our story world. I really look forward to showing the art from these because I'm very proud of the team and the work. And I consider them, in my mind, to be one of the best looking pieces of art digitally, let alone for NFTs. I'm stunned by how they turned out and how they work. It's good. I'm excited. I hope you will be too. I read everything, you know.
Well, that answers my question. You are satisfied with your current long
Yes,
distance service
I'm
provider.
doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Doing
I'm
fine.
doing fine. Jesus Christ.
That's good. You don't want to find
Val, take Dayquil next time. You're taking Dayquil next time. You're not skipping this again. God damn it.
Dude, yeah, whatever I have to do. Whatever I have to
do. We love you, Rick. Thank you for hosting, by the way, Rick, and thanks for stepping in.
Hey, you knew what you were getting into.
I knew exactly what was happening. Don't worry. I'm very aware.
Thank you for ensuring my job security.
What I do. So what I do.
Yeah. And thank all of you for coming.
To make everybody look good.
And thank all of you for coming in the questions. I do genuinely read everything, and I sit inside of the Discord, even if I'm not typing, and most of the team does too, because again, as I said, it's not about the quantity of posts, it's the quality. We care about the people who give a shit about what we're doing, understand it, and want to make it better. And we take it very seriously. And so I just thank all of you for doing the same. So with that, I'm going to bounce.
All right. See you at the Russian River.
Oh, yeah.